speaking of temperature, these are obviously meant to get hot and then stay hot. And one of the things I saw when I was researching different units online, other companies or people, one of the complaints was, either it took forever to heat up or it never got hot enough. And that's one thing I haven't experienced with the Sunstream saunas, because the unit that I have, I think it's the EHS 20.
Right.
Right. And it's got a different electrical consideration, which we'll talk about in a second. But just in the overall construction, people who are listening, if you're looking for a sauna, like you said, this thing has 360-degree coverage. It's on my left, on my right, behind me, and there's a panel in front of me, not to mention one behind my calves and then one under my feet. So there's nowhere to escape the heat. I mean,
we put the heaters everywhere we possibly could.
It's unbelievable. The thing heats up fast and stays hot, like to the point where when you mentioned 60 minutes, I couldn't do 60 minutes. At this point, I'm working my way up.
Right. And I don't know that many people would do 60 continuous minutes.
Yeah.
I'll use the sauna for an hour and a half, but I'm coming in and out. So I'll stay in for 15 or 20, get a great sweat rolling. And then I usually do it in the evening, late at night. Then I'll walk around in the colder air that we have up on Vancouver Island, cool down for 5 minutes, and then go back in.
Yeah.
And that's more keeping with the European tradition of a sauna, hot and cold. For European folks, a sauna is both. It's hot and cold, cycling back and forth. Yeah. The North American definition is more just the heat aspect of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people here in my industry and in this whole biohacking world, they're calling it fire and ice these days. And I'm seeing a lot of these retreats pop up where you're doing sauna and then you're in the wintertime, you're jumping in a frozen lake or something like that. And what I've done is I have a cold plunge in my house. So I'll do the sauna, then I'll go jump in my cold plunge, which is a little bit above 0 Celsius, which will really wake you up. So I think
sounds good.
It's that contrast of extreme temperatures, which, like you said, helps regulate the immune system, helps with the autonomic nervous system, helps with recovery. I do a lot of yoga and hot yoga. I don't know, for some reason I'm drawn to heat. And like you said, even evolutionary, we're made to absorb heat, whether it's caveman by the fire at night or sitting in an infrared sauna or laying out in the beach in the sun. That heat is therapeutic. And what I've noticed using the sauna is this thing is like a tool for just incredible benefits. It's to the point where if I don't use it, I feel like I'm missing out because it's just so deeply penetrating. And for me, I'm in the sleep world and sleep industry, and every time I use it, I get better sleep. I've got all these different sleep trackers. I've done podcasts on different things like Aura Ring and BioStrap and all these different ways to measure sleep, let alone I've got access to medical grade sleep studies as well too, and all of them come back every time I do sauna, I get better sleep.
When we design the saunas, we can only put so many watts of heaters into the sauna room so that it operates safely on the 15 amps. And we can't even use the full 100%. It's less than that. But we put in as much as we can because we want the sauna to be as strong and as effective as possible. And then in designing the sauna, we size the heaters and we position the heaters to make the best use of that somewhat limited amount of power that we have to work with. We just want to aim as much infrared and get it delivered to your body. So you mentioned some of the brands have got these tall, narrow heaters. They extend up above your head. In that case, they're wasting some of this limited power that we have to work with. You don't need the infrared heaters above your head. It's just going to fly around up here above your head and not hit any part of your body. And then so many brands, to simplify their construction, their manufacturing, they'll have the heaters in fewer of the walls. Big heater on the back wall is typical, and then usually some heaters on the side walls. But most of the saunas will have heaters on either 3 walls, perhaps only 2 walls, with our designs, I call them the Evolve 360 line.
Yeah.
All of our 6 models have the heaters surrounding you on all 4 sides. Thus, we call it 360, 360 degrees. And it's very interesting to me for you to mention, that you've read comments and talked to people. They've tried an infrared sauna. They had a so-so experience. And immediately I think to myself, unfortunately, maybe they did it at a local spa and a wellness center or a gym, and that gym didn't buy a high-quality sauna, and then the folks went and had a mediocre experience because it was poorly designed and the heaters weren't the highest quality. They just weren't getting enough infrared delivered to their body to heat them up quickly and get them sweating quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that feedback from our customers. Most of our customers insist, oh, there's tons of power in there. There's power to spare. We have a couple models that are really standout models where we've packed in sort of extra power. And I always ask folks, well, do you have a high heat tolerance? Are you really looking for a maximum sauna sweating experience? And in that case, I would recommend one of our more souped-up models that are higher than practically any other sauna I've seen in the marketplace.
It's funny you mention that because I'm one of those more extreme type people. And as soon as you mentioned the different options that you had, I was like, give me the one with the biggest juice that you have there. And it is a 20 amp unit, meaning I had to learn what this was, and I had to get an electrician out to the house to put a special breaker and circuit, like you mentioned, that can draw more power. And I have zero reservations about how much heat this thing puts out. I mean, it's intense, and I've used other saunas before, and in this I haven't even gotten to the maximum temperature. Like, it goes up to, it's in Celsius, so 65, which is about
150 Fahrenheit.
I'm in about the 50 to 55 degrees Celsius range. I can't really push more than that right now for an extended period of time, and I am just dripping head to toe and drenched, and
that's what we like to hear.
Yeah, I mean, no complaints. It's scared my wife. She can't handle this kind of heat yet. I'm sorry. I'm trying to train her. She finds sweating uncomfortable, and I'm like, no, that's the whole point. We want to flush out the toxins, the heavy metals. It's going to help with sleep. I think it could help with weight regulation, metabolism, aches and pains. I mean, there's so many benefits.
But the room itself goes together without any tools required.
Yeah.
The entire room. So glad it went smoothly for you, that you set it up.
Very smooth. Set it up on the second floor. It was easy to take the panels up. And I think people who are out there, if they envision a sauna in their head, they're thinking there's these giant things that are just lumbersome, big, but they're not. And it's just,
our designs are quite compact.
Yeah.
We intentionally build our saunas smaller than a lot of the other saunas on the market, particularly the depth. Our saunas are 38 inches deep on the outside. Yeah. It's common to see them at 42, 44, even the full 4 feet in depth. Yeah. But ours is just over 3 feet in depth. Yeah. And we do that very intentionally. We have our exclusive feature with the large infrared carbon panel heater mounted on our door, and we want your body to be close to that front door, close to the infrared source.
I've noticed that. I've sat in other ones where it's much roomier and bigger, which might, if some people have claustrophobic type issues, maybe that's more comfortable for them. But for me, I want therapy, maximum therapeutic benefits. So to have that proximity and a panel right in front of me, like I said, there's nowhere to run. You can't go. You just have to sit there and absorb it, and that's what I'm there to do.
And you don't want an excessive volume of air in the room either. The infrared saunas, we're heating you primarily with infrared radiant heat, energy, as we've been talking about, but also a certain level of required air temperature, just hot air. So similar to the traditional sauna. The traditional sauna is exclusively hot air only. The infrared sauna, it is a combination. We're heating you primarily with the radiant heat, but also a certain level of air temperature is required, and the two of those work together to warm you up, get you sweating. So we don't want this excessive volume of air inside the sauna because you do need to heat it.
Yeah.
And if the sauna is too big. We were talking about the limitations of our North American typical 15 amp circuit. We can only have so many watts. If you build the sauna too big, plug it into a 15 amp circuit, there's not enough power there. And this is why you do come across people's comments and reviews. Tried an infrared sauna. It was so-so. I had a little bit of a sweat, but I thought it took too long to heat up. That sauna, it might have the poorly placed heaters. It might have been too large for the size of for the amount of power available to it.
Yeah.
Some saunas are built, and some of these are very expensive. The most expensive saunas, they're grandiose, right? They're almost they're elegant looking. They're grand. They're expensive. They might not work that well because they can be too big for the amount of power that's in the sauna.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I always like, bigger is better generally. And I was thinking, give me the biggest one you have. But then once we had the discussions, and the points that you brought up is, you want to have the right size for the right application. And I wanted, again, maximum therapy. So
we're talking about sauna design and how we keep ours more compact, and how a lot of the time you think bigger is better. And a lot of folks, they have the idea that they want to lie down in an infrared sauna. So a lot of folks look at our designs and they are smaller. How am I going to lie down in there? But lying down in an infrared sauna is not the ideal, because the infrared is directional, invisible light that's being projected at your body. If you lie down on a bench, well, there's no infrared typically that's coming up through a wooden bench. The infrared wouldn't pass through a wooden bench. If you lie down on your back, you won't have any infrared there on your back, and then you have a lot of the infrared just flying around up above your body. So almost all infrared saunas, they are designed to be used just by sitting.
yeah,
It's when you're in the seated position that you've got most of your body surfaces exposed, and we're able to hit you with the heaters that are mounted on the walls.
that's a good point. And that's something that I recall in these bigger Finnish style or health club, those giant ones, the walk-in ones with 20 people. I would always just go find one of those tiered levels and just lay down and I think in that
it's
sense,
relaxing. There's no
relaxing.
question. It might be arguably a bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
And so people get the idea from the traditional saunas,
But
lying down
that's
on
got
the
the
bench.
convection type heat going around you where you'll get that exposure more. But like you said, with this one, we want to aim ourselves at the panels. And if you're laying down, 50% of you is going to be on a wooden surface. So that makes total sense.
Yeah. It's another reason why our designs are more compact, just to be covering your body as best as possible, as much as possible with the infrared heat. That's really what drives my designing of the saunas. That's our approach to it.
I would call it almost like a tool. I mean, it's relaxing to some extent. It's also a little bit taxing. I mean, you're going in there and you're getting your heat shock proteins, and your body's getting heated up. Heart rate goes up towards the end. I can feel the pulse in my neck and my head, and it's pretty intense. But it's not a vacation. It's a tool. It's like
that's right.
You're going in to get a job done almost, and you want to be efficient, and you want to have a good result. And you've knocked it out of the park.